Hey guys, it's Apok, and here I am at DreamHack 2019 with Mitch from FanAI.
What's going on?
And so today we're going to talk a little bit about FanAI, but also we're going to talk about toxicity. And he has some really cool recommendations on how we can help to address toxicity in gaming. All right, so Mitch, tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah, so FanAI, we're an audience analytics platform, and we help businesses associated with the eSports and gaming world understand who their fans are, and we ultimately help them sell sponsorships or monetize those fans in a variety of different ways.
Okay, all right. So a lot of data, big data. Is that you're in the big data?
Yeah, so like big data, small data, but at the end of the day, it's like, who are the people that are my fans? You know, what do they look like? What are their demographics? How do they spend their money? And then how do we enable those esports teams or publishers to make better partnership decisions through our data in a nutshell?
Well, and I imagine working with esports, you're very familiar with toxicity.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can't avoid it. You can't get away from it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't know. One day it'd be nice if that wasn't the case. But tell us a little bit about your experiences with toxicity.
Yeah. So I mean, lifelong gamer, grew up playing console games, Blizzard games, and today my game of choice is Rocket League, which is 3-on-3 car soccer.
Oh yeah.
And then I've also recently started getting into League of Legends. So as a noob stepping into League of Legends, one of the first matches I walked into, I bought some boots of speed because I thought, I want to be quick, right? I got to be mobile.
Yeah, I did that
And
too.
within like 10 seconds, I had someone pinging on the map like boots of speed. Like, he didn't even say it to me, right? It was just so subtle.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like, I guess, like, sure, but like, kind of not cool, bro.
Yeah.
It's just a small example of like, the things you say behind the screen or the things that you do in game, like, they can mean a lot to the other person, whether they actually engage or respond back,
And the funny thing about those subtle things those are the ones that really can hurt, because when you find out that everybody was kind of in on it, everybody understood what was happening, but you're the noob, right? And, And so it's really the equivalent of same thing that happens at school. A bunch of kids get together, and you all kind of see somebody doing something that you consider is not socially acceptable, right? Maybe they don't play by the same rules, and so everybody basically just piles on and just drops those insults. But in gaming, that's become acceptable.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because in Rocket League, there's this quick chat system where there's a bunch of pre-programmed things you can save. So like things like nice shot or great pass, you can compliment people. But there's also some things that are, it could be taken a little negatively, like what a save or close one. So, so actually one thing I really like about Rocket League is that while you do get people typing in the chat saying mean things, one of the way that you see the toxicity kind of bubble up in that game is, you miss a save, people say what a save, they'll kind of hit you. So it's like but it's kind of part of the game a little bit. It's actually kind of funny when you're like, because you'll throw it back on yourself, right? So it's not as toxic as some of other games as I've encountered, even though like you still run into those people that aren't very sweet to you.
I would say I mean that's a good thing that it's not as bad. But for some of the other ones, it's like it's really like it's hard to get into it. Like for me, when I started playing MOBAs, I was totally like, the whole concept of builds and all these things that you have to learn, all these item trees, and like, oh my god, it's overwhelming.
It's extremely, even for someone from like myself who's been playing games my entire life. Avid esports guy. I've watched all the games, so I'm familiar with League, familiar with the lanes. First time you step in there, it's like, whoa, there's like all these different champions, there's all these different items. Like, what do I build? And then like, there's this pressure of like, I want to win, I want to compete, but I also know that I'm kind of trash at the game still.
Well, but see, I think it takes away the exploration phase, because one of the things that I loved about playing MOBAs before I got caught up in all that is doing like really weird builds, right? You take it, and like before a player, the best way to learn the game is you take it and you go through the game and you like put all speed on it, right? And you say, oh, this is great, and then all of a sudden somebody blows on you and you die, and you're like, oh, well, maybe a blended build would be better. And so I really wish that new players in games had an opportunity or some way so that they could go into this way and experiment and play. And I feel like they would learn these item trees, they would learn these things, and it would become a more natural thing, right? Because I think what everybody resorts to when you're new is you go to some kind of guide or something like that because you don't want to get trashed. Right, and so you go to, here is Bob the YouTuber, great guide, use this, it's the absolute best build in the game, and then everybody replicates that, and I think it kills creativity.
I think you're pretty spot on with that, and I think it's really hard in today's kind of always on, always plugged in, kind of keyboard warriors kind of culture, right? Because it's really easy to just sit there and say, well, that guy's not doing the right build, that guy missed a shot, it's all his fault, you know, F you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I think that one thing we as gamers or we as people, the first step is to just talk about it and recognize it. So in Rocket League, there's actually this movement that I've noticed in the player base of, you know, a lot of people would say things like, you know, kill yourself, right? Or like KYS, right? And this is a thing you see in a lot of games, but in Rocket League in particular, it's fairly pervasive. And one thing I've noticed in the last number of months is that there's actually been a lot of people that, like, you'll see it in chat and you'll see someone else right after that saying, no, don't say that, man, that's not cool, like, don't. And I think it's that kind of, like, when you see it happening, kind of combating it and, like, kind of calling the toxic guy out a little bit. And then also not partaking it in yourself, right? Because like you don't want to enable it by kind of throwing it out there. So.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I mean, most people don't think when you like say tell somebody to kill yourself. The number of people that deal with depression, especially within the gaming community, right? We talk about mental health when somebody's a school shooter, right? But the reality is mental health issues are all over the place. And gaming is like, I like the fact that there are a lot of people bringing attention to mental health issues. Big YouTubers who have everything that people want have mental health issues because this is so much pressure to perform, either to entertain or to perform at a high level. So what do you think, what are some ways that we can help as members of the community, whether you be a corporate member or you be a member who's just a gamer, that we can help to change the narrative so that gamers don't feel the pressure and that we start moving the dial back from performance to fun?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that pop to mind to me. Number one, the only person whose behavior you can fully control is yourself, right? So, you know, before you go type something in that chat, like just think like, you know, is this a positive thing to say, or like, do I really need to say this? I mean, it's one thing to yell at your computer screen, like, you know, we've all said things at our screen that that don't actually get anywhere, and like that's whatever, like do what you do, but think about what you gotta say. And then I think number two, you know, we all have friends or people in our sphere of influence that we game with. And I think if you're going to start somewhere, you got to start with the immediate people around you. So if you're in a Discord server, if you know you got a little clan or a club, start there. And you know, I've got friends I play with, and you know, the toxicity is it's almost like the joke, right? They're just toxic in chat because it's what they do. And it's one thing if it's just, you know, four homies like playing carball and you're just drinking at night and having a good time, and it's, you know, okay, we're just bantering a little bit, but like I think that if you're going to call anyone out, it should be your friends or the people around you. Just kind of raise awareness that way. And it's not going to work for everybody, but you can control you, and then who are those people right around you that you have influence over, and start there before trying to go too big.
Honestly, I would like to see a citizens patrol, like just small pockets of player who say within my sphere of influence, I want to make sure that we protect players who maybe not have that tough skin. You know?
Well, I mean, even like myself, I consider myself to be fairly thick-skinned. I'd say I like to believe I'm super self-confident, but like sometimes people say things and it even a little bit, you're like, oh man, like I do feel kind of bad about that, like oh, and then it kind of brings you down, and then it stops becoming so fun because you're thinking about, I don't want to make that same mistake, I don't want to get called out again. Next thing you know, you're like, you know, screw it, I'm done, and you walk away. So like,
and you're playing worse because your mental energy is all about not making that person attack you again versus you actually performing and playing the way that you can.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So any other thoughts or anything else you want to share about your company, social media?
I mean, I don't need to plug my company. I mean, it's not about us. This is about the community. This is about building a better ecosystem for, you know, everyone at a show like this. And I think that I guess from my position, we work with a lot of organizations that are trying to get sponsors, and there's a lot of big brands and big companies that are kind of looking at esports in particular right now and thinking like, is this a space I want to invest in? Is this a community I want to be involved in? Is this a place I want to attach my brand to?
Absolutely.
And I think that the idea of this game is a toxic game might really resonate with certain brands out there. I mean, there are a lot of brands that don't want to work with like a Counter-Strike because of the the red blood and the violence and the terrorists and counter-terrorists. Yeah. But I think the cultural aspects of the toxicity can kind of weigh in those decisions too. So like, if you want to see esports and gaming grow, one way you can help it is to don't be a toxic. Sorry, I'm not sure if I can say that on your show, but like, So I think that it's important, and I think what you guys are doing, kind of just raising awareness and doing this is excellent. I'm glad we crossed paths today.
Well, man, thank you. And I think one note to end on is toxicity really is bad for business.
Yeah.
So you have a bad guy in most sports, whether it be wrestling or most stories, but you can't have everybody be the bad guy. Usually there's got to be some ray or hope or light that usually prevails in the end. And so hopefully non-toxic will be that ray of hope. So anyway, thank you also for watching, and thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for being at DreamHack. Y'all should come down to the DreamHack near you. It's an awesome festival.
It is.
And we'll see you next time.
All right.
Peace out.